Welcome to Holistic Human Performance Podcast. My name is Gena Bradshaw, where we talk all things holistic health, wellness, spirituality, fitness, meditation, energetics, and so much more to help you become the healthiest version of yourself. Let's dive in. This is not medical advice. This is simply to help you on your journey through health, fitness, and wellness. I hope this helps. You can complement this with anything that you are doing currently in your life. Enjoy. If you're ready to upgrade your gut and brain health, listen up. One thing that I literally cannot go without every single morning are my Gena detox drops. They are absolutely phenomenal. It helps to de-bloat, detox, optimize digestion, boost metabolism, and not only that, it's clinically formulated, clean, organic products and third-party tested. It is my go-to every morning, and you can just sip on it throughout the day, helping to support your liver and your detoxification processes. And Gena World is where it's at. It is my favorite detox product. So head on over to genaworld.com and get your 15% off using code HOLISTIC. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Holistic Human Performance Podcast. I'm your host, Gena Bradshaw. And today we have a very special guest with us. We have Uso Erasmus. And I feel like I say this every episode, but I'm so excited to pick his brain because he is so just accomplished, his experience. He's in the health, wellness, spiritual, and he is a human nature educator, founder of Udo's Choice, and author of Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill. And he's also appeared in the documentary Eating Our Way to Extinction, which, I mean, I'm just excited to break all of this down. Welcome to the podcast.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So I want to start off, I was reading up on you and, there's always a story behind where you are today, right? So, with all of the wisdom and experience that you've gone through, just kind of talk to me about how you even got to the point of interest, in the health, wellness, spiritual, and, human nature space.
Okay, so my parents were from Latvia and Estonia, German, Swedish by blood, on a farm, and Hitler and Stalin made a non-aggression pact in 1938, where they said they were not going to fight each other. And of course, it only took a few years before they broke the pact. But that's a whole other story about politics.
Yeah.
And as part of this agreement that they made, Latvia went to the Soviet Union, and part of Poland went to Germany. But there was nobody from Latvia or Poland at the meeting. They just took it because they were big and these countries were small. So my father loved the Russians because they're very feeling people, not so heady, but feeling people. And he was like that himself. Hated communism because they took everything away from everybody. And then it was state ownership and dictatorship, basically. And so he took because he had German background, it looked good for him to go to Poland, which was then part of Germany. He was given a farm in Poland. And the farmer whose farm it was ended up being his farmhand. And there was a little tension there, right?
Yeah, I can imagine.
So he said, well, look, we're living in really crazy times. Let's just run the farm the way a farm needs to be run.
Right.
And when all this stuff settles out, then we'll sort it out. And they became really good friends. They helped us get out. So I was born during the Second World War in 1942 on this stolen farm. And by the time the war ended in the winter of 1945, I was 2.5. And we were became refugees fleeing out of Poland on horse-drawn hay wagons on dirt roads with no military presence, chased by the communists in tanks and trucks, mostly women with young children. And the Allies, which we like to think of as the good guys, used us as target practice, shooting at us from planes. And they were dead horses and dead people in the ditches. And my mother decided that it was safer to go through the snow-covered fields than to stay on the road. She had 6 kids, 6 years and younger with her.
Whoa.
She couldn't get off the road with 6 kids. So she had to leave 4 kids behind. Imagine a mother having to make a decision like that.
Oh my goodness. I have full body chills.
Yeah, so I got left behind and ended up in an orphanage. And her mother, her sister, eventually found out about what had happened and that we had been left behind. And she went and found us and brought us back and reunited us with the family.
Oh my goodness. That's like incredible.
Yeah. So in terms of my own development, I just remember not knowing what I could trust, not feeling safe. I remember being hungry and kind of became a loner, isolated. I loved books because books are safe. You know, you can read a book about a war and there's no bullets flying. We had real bullets flying. So I became very studious, and I was always, because we had everything stripped. Like the culture got stripped, the farm got stripped, the house got stripped, the animals got stripped, the community got stripped, the friends got stripped from us by the war. And we literally got out of there with the clothes we were wearing, the bodies we had, and the life in those bodies.
Wow.
That's what we had. And because I got all of that stripped, I kind of grew up without culture. And I love that happened. I look back now and say, what a gift. I mean, it's a crazy gift, but sometimes hardship is what people need to straighten out. And we're kind of working, the whole world is kind of working on another crazy situation like that, because we're not doing what we need to do in order to get to the core of our being, from which a sustainable, harmonious, peace-filled, love-filled, inspired life is possible. And because I didn't know how things worked, I always tried to figure out, how does it work? So I got really curious, obsessively curious, right? How does that work? And I was banging things together to find out what's stronger. I wrecked a lot of stuff when I was a kid because I was always doing experiments, right? And when I was 6 years old, we were in Germany, and I listened to adults have these arguments, and they were so intense. They're like so into it, and I'm a little kid, and they're big, and and it would make me really uneasy. And one day there was an argument like that, and the thought came to me, man, there must be a way that human beings can live in harmony. And this little cocky voice, that 6-year-old doesn't know how complicated everything is, I'm going to find out how. So that's been my driver all my life. How can human beings live in harmony together? How can we live? And so that goes down to how can I live in harmony with myself? Because that's where the problem begins, right? We don't even get along with ourselves, right? How can I be in harmony with other people? And how can I be in harmony with the natural environment on the planet that I inhabit, right? So because of that, I got into science, because I wanted to figure out how things work. Because science is about predictable and control, right? Predict and control. Right. And if you understand how something works, then you can anticipate how it's going to work. And then I got into biological sciences to figure out how creatures work. And oh my God, is that fascinating?
I mean, yes.
Yeah. And then I got into psychology, how thinking works. And then I got into medicine, how health works. But in medicine, it became really clear to me, we're only going to learn about disease here. I talked to the dean. I said, I came here to study health because it's called healthcare. And I'm only learning about disease. What is health? He said, we don't know. We're working on it. And that was probably the most disappointing answer I ever got from a professional.
Yeah.
And then we were told in first year medicine that a doctor should always sound as though he knows what's going on, even when he doesn't.
Mm,
And on the farm, we call that lying.
obviously. I have a question.
And that ended my medical career.
Where did you study medicine? Was it in the States or was it in Germany?
No, in Canada.
In Canada.
We left Germany when I was 10
Okay.
to Canada, and then my father got a farm way in the woods. He hated the world. He just wanted to be left alone. So he got a place in the middle of nowhere, built his own house, built our own everything. And no electricity, no running water, outhouse at 40 below, you know. And
Wow.
So that was part of my childhood. But no, I went to University of British Columbia for sciences and biosciences and psychology and medicine. Then I went back into biochemistry and genetics because I realized I'm learning more about health in biology because we're studying normal functioning of normal creatures in normal situations than I'm ever going to learn in medicine. And my idea is if you know what health is, you can direct people to it. If you don't know what health is, you don't know where to direct them. So the idea was always like, what's the essence of it? You know, I love essences. And I think that's really, probably that defines me. What's the core? Because, you know, you only have to know maybe about five or six basic things about life and living on the planet. And if you have those in place accurately, you can figure everything else out from those basic principles. So I like basic principles. I think Elon Musk is famous for basic principles. I love basic principles, but completely different territory. It's always about nature and human nature and life and peace and love and, you know, all of that kind of stuff, because it's in our nature. And this is what anyway, I left university because there was something I was missing. We didn't actually study life in biology, even though biology is the study of life. We learned form and function. We didn't study soul in psychology because psychology is study of soul. We learned thoughts, beliefs, emotions. We didn't learn health in medicine, you know, and so I was looking for something. And when I was 17, I remember my heart started to ache, you know, right about here in my chest. You know what heartache is, right? Everybody knows what heartache is.
Oh, yeah.
There's 100 triggers, but it's always the same feeling in your chest.
Yep.
Right? So that's interesting because if there are 100 different triggers, like grandma died, the dog ran away, girlfriend dumped me, somebody made a promise, didn't keep the promise, you know, there's so many ways that we get triggered in this feeling, and it's always the same feeling. And it's an uneasy, painful, uncomfortable feeling. Well, I started feeling that when I was 17 every day, and I couldn't shake it. Through all of everything I was doing, I couldn't shake that feeling. And I was looking for a solution to that feeling. So I left university, and then I experimented with psychedelics briefly. And I remember, because I was a very, very tightly wound, very shy, you know, and I took an LSD journey with Sandoz LSD. That was the original stuff. And on that journey, I was rolling on the floor, laughing and crying in time to Mozart music with a couple of guys sitting on the couch. One turned into an angel. The other one turned into a devil.
Oh my goodness.
And I was laughing so hard. And it struck me as the funniest thing ever, that everything that I was so studiously looking for out there was all already inside of me. It just struck me as, no, it can't. And that kind of melted the door off my war baby personality, because it was like, oh my God, there's 1,000 ways I could live. I have so many options. And then it took me years to figure out how I actually wanted to live, sorting through all the options, looking at what are the possibilities, right? and then I got kind of burnt out on psychedelics after a couple of years, and I decided not to do any more psychedelics for 2 years to give my body a chance to recover.
I have a question. Did you experiment? Because I did have another guest on that specifically spoke about microdosing.
Mhm.
Did you experiment with different types of psychedelics, or did you just experiment with LSD?
No, I did different ones too.
Okay.
Yeah, I did mushrooms and cactus and
Okay.
mescaline, psilocybin.
Mm,
Ayahuasca was not around in those days, so I never did that. And
mm,
I never did cocaine or heroin.
mm,
I tried pretty much everything else.
mm.
Morning Glory and uh, and anyway, there was quite a
Yeah.
few of them.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
they're similar in a way. They're none of them are addicting.
Yeah.
All of them done properly can be hugely insightful and and personally developing. I don't know
Mm.
how to say that right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like the
And
development of your personality through it.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Or your development of your sense of yourself,
Mm.
right?
Essence.
Yeah. Yeah, and it gets deeper into the essence of being
Mm.
than most people spend most of their time in. And that's what makes them unique, and that's why they're so interesting, and that's also why they can be dangerous. So
Right.
you want to this is not play stuff. This is not entertainment.
No.
This is deeper than that if used properly
Right.
in my view. Some
Right.
people like it as entertainment, but I don't.
Right.
So
Intentional going into it. Yes.
yeah, so then when I stopped with the psychedelics because I figured I have one body, I better take care of it.
Right.
And I started taking the next step. I started thinking, who would I like to model myself after? What is a human being? How do I want to live as a human being? And who's admirable in that regard? My
Mm.
parents were not my models. They were pretty burned out by the war.
Yeah.
And so I was looking for models, and I had some good teachers that kind of were cool, but I wanted to like a real model.
Yeah.
So my model, being in a Christian culture, became Jesus. Because and my question was, well, what was it about this guy that they're still talking about him 2,000 years later? Nobody
Right.
remembers my grandfather. He hasn't been dead for 50 years, right? And I don't even remember his name, right? So that's how less memorable he was. And in comparison, it's like, well, there must have been something there. It
Yeah.
can't have just been a corporate takeover of a little guy's mission. There must have been something there that had some energy, some juice to it.
Yeah.
And my question was, I would like to know what he felt that made him live like he did, talk like he did, and do what he did.
Mm.
What did it feel like to be? I didn't want to be him. I didn't want a religion named after me. I definitely didn't want to get nailed on a cross, right?
Right.
But I wanted to know what was the being, what was the message. So how do you do that when you come when I came 2,000 years late, right, to the party, right? How do you do that? So I got the Red Letter Edition. Red Letter Edition is a Bible where everything Jesus says is printed in red ink,
Huh.
and everything else in that Bible is in black ink.
Okay.
And I used that because I wanted to be focused on the master's message.
Right.
What did he say? I didn't care what John said and what Paul said and what all the old prophets did, because this was a story of a guy who could be a model. Well, how would you be the model, and how can you get close to feeling what it felt like to be that model, right?
Mm.
Right? Because it's kind of like, well, he must have felt something, because some of what you read is poetry, and you don't write poetry without feeling.
Right.
So for me, it was like very kinesthetic, right? I
Yeah.
want to feel what he felt.
Yeah.
So I put it to the test, and I did little experiments with things he said in the New Testament.
Okay.
And I thought about, what I read. I didn't get somebody else to interpret it for me. I wasn't looking for a church to join. I wanted to have understanding within myself. So there's one thing he says. It's like, what you have done to one of the least of these, that you have done to me. And I think about it. It's like, well, what does that mean? Well, what it means to me is that I am in everyone, right? Because how could you be doing it to me if I wasn't there? Right?
Right.
So that was one thing. It was kind of, wow, that's really interesting. So I did some experiments and I took some risks, and some really magical things happened. And then this group of Christians came up the West Coast to Vancouver, where I was living at the time. They called themselves the Jesus People's Army. And that should have been my first warning, because army is not a great term in my vocabulary, because I came out of the war, right? Right?
Right.
But I missed the cue. And I missed the cue because I thought, well, you know what? They must be all people who are trying to figure it out like I am. Mm-hmm. We're all going to get together and we're going to share our stories, and we're all going to learn something from each other, and we're all going to leave the evening enriched. Right? That's what I thought. And I was sure that was going to happen.
Yep.
So I went to their coffee house. They invited people to a coffee house. I went to the coffee house. I sat down at a table, and this guy immediately swooped in next to me. And that should have been my second warning. And I missed that cue too. So I looked him in the eyes. I didn't introduce myself, and I just looked him in the eyes and I said, it must be possible to see God and live. Because when we were kids, we were told that if you look at God, he kills you. Yeah. And to me, that was always a problem. It's like, wait a minute, loves me unconditionally, takes care of everything, makes sure I wake up in the morning, grows all the things on the planet that I eat, So loves us unconditionally. And if we look at him, he kills us. It's like, there's something wrong with that picture.
No.
So I said that to him, and I thought that would be the beginning of a deep conversation. It wasn't. He jumped out of the chair, and he was bouncing around in the room with his arms waving wildly over his head, and he screamed at the top of his voice, "You're from the devil! You're from the Antichrist! Get out!" I was like, oh my God. I went slinking out of there, and I'm standing on the sidewalk, and I say, shit. I haven't seen God. So maybe I shouldn't have been asked a question. You're like a little kid inside for things when you don't know, right? It's like,
yeah.
And I'm still like a little kid inside, right? So I'm standing there. I said, well, maybe I shouldn't have asked. And I got really confused and really desperate. And I really wanted to know. Desperation sometimes makes you very sincere. Mm-hmm. Well, that certainly happened to me. So I really wanted to know. So what I would do, and when the city got too much for me, to clear my head, I'd always go out in nature. Mm. And so I ended up going out in nature on a beach, a Long Beach. It's called Long Beach, but it's on Vancouver Island. The place was completely deserted. I was the only guest. And there were all the logs that lie on the beach, and somebody had draped plastic over some logs and made a little dwelling. And I said, okay, there's my hotel for the weekend. And so I went to sleep in this little, whatever, it was like dwelling, right?
Yeah.
And in the middle of the night, I woke bolt upright from dead asleep. And there was this being made of light. And I don't believe in stuff like that.
What?
But there was this being made of light, not drug induced. Yeah. Just desperation induced, you could say, maybe.
Yep.
Really wanting to know induced, maybe. And there was this being made of light. Couldn't tell if it was male or female. Couldn't tell if it was old or young, but it's a human being embodying a message. No words, no label, just there. And I could put words to what that being embodied, and the words were, I am come not to judge, but to love. I am come not to judge, but to love. And all my desperation evaporated instantly. I have never had a question about what was the message or the feeling of the master. And that completely reset my life.
Wow.
And I didn't talk to anybody about it from 1970 when it happened till 2001 when 9/11 happened. Because when 9/11 happened, my take home was I was out in nature. We were on a whitewater rafting trip with my kids when it happened, and I saw the planes hit the towers, and then we were going out to the river. And when I was on the river, it's like, oh, the river was not affected. Oh, the clouds not affected. Oh, the riverbank's not affected. The trees were not affected. So I got like I saw the disaster, and then I got complete space from it. Wow. And then I came back, and then of course when I came back, I probably watched the planes hit the tower 200 times because it was all, But the take home for me was that discontent people will always spread discontent. And people who are content, if we don't spread contentment quicker than they spread discontent, guess where the world is headed? And at that point, I began to try to find words for this incredibly life-changing experience I had, because it is an important message, and it is a message about contentment. Now, let me go back to what happened. Completely reset my life. And then gradually it became, and I thought about it a lot, and I had insights. Like one of them was, well, who was this? Was this Christ, or was this life, or was this spirit, or was it soul? And my conclusion was, actually, those are all the same. The essence of the master is the same as the essence of life in us. The master in us is life. Life is solar energy, a fraction of solar energy. The sun shines on the earth. Everything on the earth that is alive is run on solar energy, right? So that energy is filtered through 93 million miles of space, because the temperature in the sun is 15 million degrees Celsius. You could burn your toes on that. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And so it's filtered through 93 million miles. Then it's filtered through the Earth's atmosphere. Then it's filtered through plants. And then the fraction that remains is stored in bonds between atoms to make molecules. We eat those molecules, and in our cells, those bonds get broken. That solar energy is released, and that's the energy we live on, and we call it life. But that energy is also the master in the body, because it weighs nothing, but it runs everything. It is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient in the body, right? So everywhere present, all powerful, and all knowing in the body, knows exactly how to put all this together, and on a moment-to-moment basis, running it the whole time. The body's not in charge of that. Life is in charge of that, right?
Right.
And so fundamentally, what the journey is, let me say one more thing, okay?
Yeah, go for it.
So if I say to you, hey, Gena, not Gina, but Gena, how Gena? Hey, Gena, whose body is that? What would you say?
I mean, I would say, like, it's my body.
Yeah. Most people would say that, right? You point at them, it's my body. But you know what you just told me?
I'm separate from God.
No, you've just told me you're not the body. You've just told me that you're the owner of the body. The body is your property. It is my body, right? I own the body. Right. So then the question is, well, who are you as owner of the body? So who owns Gena's body?
What soul?
Yeah, life.
Life. Yeah.
Life, right? Because when life and your body part company, your body's done. Right? We don't know where life goes, but the body's finished. But life is energy, so it can't just
It doesn't
can't just
end.
be. Yeah, it can't just disappear.
Right.
It just goes where energy goes, and it becomes physically invisible to our physical senses.
Right,
Right.
right, right.
So you are life. Life is the master of your body. So you as life are master of your body. And by the way, life is a flow of unconditional empowering love. So if you ever feel like you don't feel loved, then bring your focus inside to the life that you are, that loves your body unconditionally.
Mm.
Right?
Right. And so many people too, and I'm sure you see this also and hear this, they talk about their body like, I hate my body, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not, it's like that health anxiety, and like, how dare my body go against me? And people forget to realize, like, this is the vessel to the soul. This is the vessel that we chose to come into.
Yeah.
And we need to take care of this vessel.
And
We need
yeah,
to, we need.
and the truth is, when you say I hate my body, actually you, who you really are, loves your body unconditionally. And most of the time where we make mistakes is here at our mouth, what we're putting in.
Yep.
Because once I put something in my mouth and swallow it,
Yep.
life takes care of it. None of my mind or my brain is involved in that. It can interfere, but it can't actually make it happen. And the more I get my mind out of the way, the more that life energy can flow through the body and give me pretty good health. I'm going to be 82 in May. Right?
You look incredible.
Yeah. And definitely something's working. And aside from paying attention to what I put in my mouth, I also spend time with myself in quiet, solitary, voluntary solitude practice, in a stillness practice, where I bring my focus inside into the space my body occupies, and discover that in that space is inspiration. A little deeper than that is unconditional love, and a little deeper than that is all-encompassing infinite peace. And peace and the stillness that people go into is exceptionally good for health and longevity. There's good research on it now. It wasn't when I started, but let me tell one more story. So why are we so confused? The world's a pretty crazy place these days, right?
Yeah.
Why is that? Where did that start? Well, it didn't start at conception. And it didn't start when you were in your mother's womb. I call it the Buddha tank.
The Buddha tank. I love it.
So the question I asked is, well, when I was in the Buddha tank, where was my focus? Right now my focus is like, I got a cherry tree out there, and I'm in front of my computer. I see myself and I see you on the picture, and I'm hearing the words I'm saying, and watching you nod, and so it's out here or in here. Usually our focus is outside in the surface, in the world of surfaces of things, or it's in our mind, in our thoughts. That's where mostly we spend our focus, right? But where was it when I was in the Buddha tank? Well, when I was in the Buddha tank, there was nothing to do. There was nowhere to go. Everything was taken care of. I didn't even have to breathe, right? Pretty safe. And so where was the focus? Well, the focus was at rest, inside, in its source, in life, and in awareness. And it was the boringest place, the boringest situation you could ever imagine, your mind could ever imagine. But you weren't bored. You were in light, you were in bliss, you were like a little yogi in deep meditation. And sometimes you see on fetus pictures, you see this little smile come on the, right? While it's floating around in the tank, not
so peaceful.
Not a care in the world, no obsessions, no anxiety, no overwhelm, just hanging out. in this beautiful place inside.
Mm.
When we came out, everything changed because now we had to get to know the world. And in the process of getting to know the world, our focus went from being present inside in peace, love, and inspiration, absent outside. In the womb, I didn't even know there was a mother around me. And I didn't know that there was a world around the mother.
Right.
Right? It's like no concepts, no thoughts, right? Just the feeling of life itself.
Yeah.
So in the process, we go from being present inside, absent outside in our focus, to getting more and more present outside in our focus and less present inside in our focus.
Yeah.
And we get disconnected. And that's where heartache began. Because heartache is the greatest gift we've been given other than being alive, even though it's not comfortable, because it is the call for us to bring our focus back home inside where our heaven is, where everything we ever wanted is already present. The thing I laughed about on my first LSD trip, right? Oh my God, what I'm looking for out there is all in here. But we don't spend much time. First of all, we don't understand that that's what heartache is.
Yeah.
Because we blame heartache on what triggered it. So
right.
So my heart aches because my girlfriend dumped me. No, she just triggered the heartache. Heartache is the symptom of my disconnection from my own nature. And why is it such a gift? Is because if we didn't have heartache to call us back, we would never find our way back home.
I talk about this a lot in terms of like the emotion code and how our body holds the medicine, right? So for example, like I'm a 2-time cancer survivor. And so getting sick, right? That was something where the first time I got sick, I was 3.5, right? You're 3.5 years old. You don't consciously know what's going on, but your body keeps the trauma. Your body holds on to that trauma if you don't work on it. So I always talk about how disease, sickness, illness, heartache, all of these signs and signals from the body are actually the medicine to help you get back onto your path and going within. Yeah. And we are not taught that. We are not taught that at all.
In fact, even the people who talk about trauma, like I know some of them say, well, trauma started heartache. It's actually not true. It's actually not true. It is a natural, and the thing is, the disconnection from ourselves is a normal, natural, necessary process in the human life cycle of learning to function in the world.
Right.
And there's trauma involved, but here's what's really cool about it. So your focus is out there, but that all-encompassing peace is still inside of the core of your being. And the unconditional empowering love is still inside of your body as life energy. And wisdom and insight and all the good stuff, it's all still there. The only thing that's changed is our focus moved away from it. And now we're looking to find what we have inside, outside.
Right.
So if I make $1 million, I'll be happy. I had a guy I worked with. He said, if I $1 million, I'll be happy. I said, no, you won't. He said, what? Oh, he says, oh. No, I said, because when you make $1 million, you're going to jump up and down for 3 days and you can say, I did it. And on day 4,
still feeling it.
No, didn't do it. Oh, must have. Then I said, and then you're going to say, if I make $10 million, I'll be happy. And when you do that, you still won't be happy, because happy is a state of being inside that is already there when you bring your focus to it.
Right.
It's not something you can create on the outside. And it doesn't matter if it's $1 billion or it's the girl or a different girl every night, or power or influence, or, none of that gets you back to the wholeness that is the core of your being inside of you all the time when you're doing all these stupid things. Right?
I know it.
Oh my God. And what a
Sorry to
cool
cut
thing.
you off. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So,
no, but
so
what a cool.
sometimes I sit and, in the midst of, being an entrepreneur, and you're trying to, and also just what's going on in the world, you're trying to just make do of like,
Yeah.
okay, what's next? What am I doing here? And honestly, in those moments, and something that I like to is my goal for so many people, is like asking yourself and knowing your energy and knowing yourself so well that you can ask yourself, what do I need in this moment, in this time? And the answer just
Hmm.
like comes to you. And a
Hmm.
lot of the times for me, as of late, it's been like, take a moment, step back from everything, go within. And then I come out of like a meditation or whatever, and I'm like, oh, I feel so much better.
Yeah, yeah. What do I need? Stillness.
Stillness.
You
I just
know,
need to
you want to
chill.
fix the world, you want to fix the problems in the world, do less.
Yeah.
Because all of the problems got created by doing,
Yeah.
right? You know, when we
Right.
had the lockdowns,
Yeah.
the dirty air over China cleared up.
I know it.
The dolphins went back into the canals in Venice because the water was clean. You know, out here, the bay where I live at, you could see 30 feet into the water because it was clean. It wasn't all oil from boats floating on top. The flowers were brighter, you know. So when people say, oh, we got to do something about the environment, I say, you know what? Do less. Do
Yeah.
less. What does
Mother
that mean?
Nature knows what to do. She's got
Except
it
maybe
handled.
plant trees, except maybe plant trees and manage water better.
Right.
And maybe manage soil better.
Right.
But not like all this fancy stuff and all the lockdowns and all of this. It's just more stuff that we're doing.
It's
It's the doing
noise.
that's the problem because we need time for being. You know,
Mm,
people say like we live in a place where, you know, massive action. You know, work hard and play hard. That's a recipe for burnout if you don't also do nothing hard. So that's where the balance comes in. And mostly every human being, if they want to experience the incredible magnificence and beauty and awesomeness of their existence, needs to take stillness time every day to bring the focus back inside to where that magnificence lives. And that will change how they feel, which will change the way they think, which will change the way they talk, which will change the way they live into the world, which will change the world.
mm,
And it's an individual thing, and each one of us can only do that ourselves. I cannot make you do that. You can't make me do that. I can be an influence in that direction if how I am feels good to other people. They say, maybe. I mean, that's what the masters did. The masters were teachers of human nature, and they taught and how you can't be an academic in human nature. That's not human nature. That's just
no.
mind.
Yep.
So they were fully present in the space their body occupied, and they were able to speak from that presence to that presence in other people to catalyze something. And some people liked the feeling and wanted to know more. And then they taught those people a way to do a stillness practice because they all took time alone. Buddha took time alone. Jesus took time alone. You know, they all took time alone. If you know any of their story,
Yep.
you know, he went to the mountains, he went to the desert, he sat under the banyan tree for 40 days. I don't know how long it was, right?
Yeah.
But until he became enlightened, whatever it was. And why did he sit under the banyan tree? It wasn't the banyan tree, it was the sitting still. That was the key. And sitting still, bringing focus into the space the body occupies. Now, going to life and cancer, talking about that.
Yes.
Life energy, who you really are as owner of the body, is perfect health. Perfect health. So when the body gets sick, then you have to look at on the physical level, your food, nature's mandate, fresh, whole, raw, organic, local,
Yep.
mostly in season, and for human beings, mostly plant-based, right? Because when the hunters had rocks to hunt with, they came home without meat most of the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's the physical part of it. And then absence of toxins. Of course, now we live in toxic soup because
Literally.
we have been very disrespectful of ourselves and each other and the planet in the garbage that we dump in it.
Right.
Then on the mental level, if I say I'm stupid long enough, I will start acting stupid.
Yep.
Right? If I say, oh, there's something wrong with me, or somebody tells me, hey kid, there's something wrong with you, and then I buy it because I don't know better, and I've already lost my way and I haven't found my way back yet, right? So I believe that BS, right?
Right.
And then with you telling yourself that you're sick and that there's something wrong with you, you will create in your thoughts, in your words, in your actions, you will create something wrong with you. Even still, when there's something wrong with you, somebody has cancer, life energy inside of them, their own individual essence, their own true nature is perfect health, cannot get cancer, can never get sick, and can never die. Right?
Yeah.
When we live in touch with that, we are much less subject to being told stupid things that make us sick. And just being present in the peace and the love and the inspiration is itself healing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I always like to, because I do a lot of work with those who have been touched by cancer, and what you just described as, number one, I don't identify as like a cancer survivor or anything like that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, that was past version of me. We're moving on now. I'm
Yeah.
healthy. I'm
Well,
whole.
and the
Yeah.
truth is, it wasn't even you, because
Right.
it was your body. You say, I'm not hungry, but my body is. I'm not tired, but my body is. I don't have cancer, but my body has cancer.
Mm.
So it's not even you that has the cancer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's
Right?
like, we're putting it on like as an identity, and that doesn't need to be.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then we put it on in the wrong identity, and the body is a terminal condition. We
Yep.
already know that because it has form, and what has form will lose its form. Life is formless flow of unconditional love, and empowering love through your system runs everything. Align with what it needs, the building
Yeah.
blocks, the absence of toxins, making sure digestion works. Align with what life needs to make a body that works.
Right. Exactly. I
Yeah.
love that because, we get so caught up in the white noise. Like, what you're saying is so simple.
Mm-hmm.
It's like outrageous,
Mm-hmm.
but the concept itself for people to actually wrap their minds around, which is where everybody's stuck, right? In their ego, in their minds, is like, but wait, how do I do that? Well, how do I get still with myself? I can't even sit with my own thoughts. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
so are
well,
there
here's the
any things that you would like, words of wisdom in terms of what you
yeah.
would, yeah, guide
Well,
people through?
the words of wisdom was, we always think it's hard.
Yeah.
It's actually
Doesn't have to
simple.
be.
It's almost too simple, right? It's like we can't, because our mind can't get simple enough, because when you sit still, you become one. The mind works in duality. So you got to get out of your mind, and you have to get your awareness into your body, right?
Mm,
Now, is it hard? No, you've already done it. You did it for 9 months. You're an accomplished yogi. You're an accomplished master. You've been hanging out in that place for 9 months, and then you forgot. So your focus wandered off. Bring your focus up. That's all you got to do. How
yeah.
do you do that? Get a safe space where you're not going to be distracted. Shut off all of your gadgets, all of your distractions as much as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just kind of, it goes like this. Okay. Like, imagine you're a kid and you're playing tag,
Okay.
right? Somebody counts 20, 19, 18, 17, right? So 0, and then they come looking for you, right? And you try to hide, and you realize that you didn't hide quite well enough, or you didn't run 600 miles away because you didn't have time to do that, right? And so you're a little bit exposed. So you know that if you go, he's going to hear it and you're going to get tagged out. Or if you move and you break a little branch under your foot, it's going to hear it and you're going to be put out, right? If you cough, you're going to be you're going to be put out, right? Okay, so what do? You sit there motionless, as still as you can possibly get.
Mm.
And because there's no movement and there's no noise, you might not see you, right?
Right.
So you might get away with it. So imagine you're playing that game and you sit down and say, okay, how still can I get? And maybe it's because you don't want your thoughts to catch up with you and tag you out, right? Okay, how still can I be? And how deep can I go into that stillness?
Mm.
And how long can I stay there? And how lightly and slowly can I breathe? And while I'm doing that, what is there? What do I notice? What do I notice in that space? And hang out and just fall in love with that space. Sometimes people say, oh, I can't do meditation. It's boring. Fall in love with the boredom. You were in love with that boredom when you were in the Buddha tank.
I
right?
hear that all the time.
Yeah,
I'm like,
fall in love with boredom. But here's the thing. When you're bored, first of all, the reason you get bored is because you're addicted to doing.
yep.
That's your problem. That is your
Right.
problem. You're
Right.
addicted to doing. So when it's boring, you're on the right track. Notice how peaceful it is in that boredom. And you go a little deeper into that boredom. And you can actually see light in your darkness. You can hear sound in your silence. You can feel love in your emptiness. You can taste sweetness in the blandness of your mouth. Experience what is there. Right? What, the other way people sometimes say is just, what do you sense? What do you feel? What do you hear? What do you see? When you sit as still as possible and breathe as lightly and calmly as you can.
Mm.
And it is so restful.
I'm calm right now.
I know it takes almost nothing, right?
It really does. I know
Yeah.
it. And a lot of, those individuals who will say, meditation is boring. I have too many thoughts. I can't sit still. That's when I tell people you need to do the most work and you need to start now.
Yeah.
Get
Actually,
into
you need to do
stillness.
less work because the thinking is already too much work.
Right.
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 So, yeah. So it's simple, and then you do that, and you do that, and you do that. I've been doing it for over 50 years.
Wow.
Because what happened to me when my experience became a memory, it was like, damn it, there must be a way that I can live in that presence on a moment-to-moment basis. And that question took me to a guy who wrote a book called Hear Yourself, like Hear Yourself, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How to Find Peace in a Noisy World. And he showed me a way to, that makes it a little easier. It's still, I have to do the work, but just to makes it a little easier to bring your focus back inside. And I've been doing it for 50 years. I didn't think it was going to work because I was crazy. I was crazy busy all the time. And I couldn't sit still for 5 minutes. He said, take an hour a day. I couldn't even sit still for 5 minutes. Yeah. And then I get into these stupid arguments with my ex, right? And I would just get so frustrated. It was like I was either going to hit her or I had to leave the cabin and go and sit in the woods.
Yeah.
So I sit in the woods and practice for 5 minutes. Just how still can I become? And after 5 minutes, we argued about that. That's so trivial. That was just like those guys, those adults when I was 6 years old. I'm having the same stupid arguments they had. Hey, I said I was going to find a solution to this, right? And then I realized that if I did the practice before the argument started, I wouldn't rise to the bait. So like 6 months in, he said, give it a fair chance. I said, I'll give it 6 months. I don't know, fair chance. In my view, the fair chance now, as many lifetimes as you're ever going to have.
Yeah.
Do it every day, right?
Yeah.
And so within 6 months, I realized, oh my God, this is working. This actually works. So now I've been doing it for over 50 years. And literally, I get out of bed, before I get out of bed, when I wake up, I do my practice, lying down, because I'm trying to get into the energy space. If you sit, and then your shoulders get sore or, or something. So I like to take the weight off my body. I lie on my back. I don't fall asleep when I lie on my back. I put my hands behind my head like this. I never fall asleep. It's just me. And it might be different for different people. And then I just bring my focus into the presence within the space my body occupies. And I do that for an hour every morning when I get up. And if I have something early to do, I'll get up 2 hours so I can do that 1 hour. This is, like, to me, priority of anything I do during the day.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. And then sometimes, I'll get up from the practice and I say, well, I didn't experience anything. And I say, well, what a waste of time. No, but I notice that my day goes better because there's more calmness in my day when I do the practice, even if I think I never experienced anything.
Yeah.
Right. It's really interesting.
It's very interesting because the evidence is so clear that a morning practice and time for yourself is astronomical when it comes to your health, your life, your well-being, and your connection to, and everything.
And your conversations. Force. Yeah, 100%. See, and I want to start my day that way. And when I first started doing the practice, I would go inside, have a beautiful experience, and then I'd come out and I'd get right back into the bullshit. And one day it occurred to me, man, there must be a way that I can drag this out into the world with me. And when that occurred to me that was even possible, it started to become possible. Because then I didn't just leave it behind in my bed. I took it with me.
Right.
I dragged it with me. And here's the thing. If my state of being is peace, I can actually see that peace is everywhere in the world. Peace is like space. Doesn't matter what happens in space, explosions and whizzes and clouds and everything. Space is not affected by what happens in it. It's the container. Well, peace is like space. There's peace everywhere in the entire universe. The entire universe, your existence and the existence of the universe, comes out of peace. But you don't see that peace unless peace in you is looking. So when you can't see peace, it means you haven't gone deep enough into the core of your being. That's where your access to infinite peace, right? And that peace, when you feel it, you realize it's not limited to the dimensions of your body. You're a center point for a peace that goes out from that center point in all directions to infinity. And you're a point like that, and I'm a point like that, and every point everywhere is a point like that. Peace is everywhere. Even wars take place in peace. Peace is in the warriors, between the warriors, above and below and around the warriors, on the entire battlefield. But where's the focus? Focus is, you're my enemy, I'm going to kill you. The other side says, you're my enemy, I'm going to kill you. And then in a place that's what they put into peace. They put war into peace by where their focus goes. Now, if they were miraculously to discover the peace within themselves, they would sit down, dump their weapons, and they would say to each other, how can we help each other live better? How are your kids doing? Whatever it is, right? Whatever it is that enriches the experience that we can have, that we don't interfere with people having that experience, but that we encourage living in peace and encourage living from love and encourage living from inspiration.
Right.
So when I'm in peace, I see peace everywhere in the world, and I will live into a world of peace, and I will bring peace into the world of peace that I live in. But if my state is that I'm angry, I will see enemies
everywhere.
And you know what? If there aren't enemies there, I will create some.
Yep.
because if I need to live in a world of enemies when I'm angry. So obviously how I live into the world when I'm angry is different than how I live into the world when I'm in peace. And if I'm fearful, then I'll see danger everywhere, right? And then I will live different than I would live in peace. I'd be figuring out how to duck, how to escape, how to hide, right? How to maybe not do what needs to be done because it might be dangerous, because somebody might not like it, right? So your state of being creates your world. And how you act is an automatic extension of your state of being. It can't be any other way.
Yeah, right? Your inner world creates your external world. You want
peace in your world? You want peace in your world? You need to be in peace yourself, and you recognize you're already living in a world that is already in peace. Right?
Love that. Right. Now, where do you see society going? Where do you see, just based off your experience, your circumstances, like, where do you see the collective going and headed?
Well, if you put me in front of 8 billion people, I have a message. Heartache is your greatest gift other than being alive, because it's the call to come home to the beauty of your own existence. Right? And no matter what anybody told you, you are the master lives within you as life. Whatever master you follow, that master lives within you as life. Embody that master. The change of this age is that we finally get, as a collective, the message of an individual who talked about it a couple thousand years ago, or 2,500 years ago, or 5,000 years ago, right? And out of that collective recognition that we can live all following the same leader, which is life, the master within us, which is unconditional empowering love. What do you think? What kind of a world we can build like that?
Beautiful.
Right? So that's the best scenario.
Yeah.
But individually, we either take it on or we don't. And how our life goes will be defined by where we are, with that as the extreme possibility, and everybody killing everybody as the other extreme possibility.
Right.
And we're all in there somewhere, and we all have it in us to kill and to heal. And we all have the master within us, and we all have the devil in our minds. Right? Whatever that devil is, destructive thinking, life non-supportive, right? I mean, what are we? It's like this is the planet of life. This is the treasure. Life, right? Anything you do that supports, encourages, protects life is a good thing to do. Evil is anything that's destructive of life. Not that complicated. And that's all mental. Your heart is 100% for you with unconditional love. Your mind is 50% for you and 50% against you with concepts. Right? Live from the heart. You'll be a little less tall, but you'll be a lot wiser. Right?
Wow. Thank you so much.
So anything is possible.
Yeah.
Anytime, anything is possible if we're hip to it.
Yeah, right? If you're open to it.
Yeah. You have to be aware. You have to be present. You have to be present. The peace we're looking for is already here. The love we're looking for is already here. The wisdom we need is already built into life. Einstein says 99 times I think and think and think and I get nothing.
Yeah.
And then one day I stop thinking, I float in silence, and the answer comes to me. Einstein was a mystic. And what I'm talking about is mystical experience. Imagine 8 billion people living mystical experience.
I mean, what a change we would have.
100% possible.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But individually chosen.
Free
And we're,
will.
by the way, we're all chosen by life to be alive. So much for this chosen people, right? And everything that's alive is chosen by life to be alive. And the energy that we call solar energy or Christ energy or life energy, that same energy runs every a human being, every plant, every animal, every microbe on the planet, pretty much,
Everywhere.
right? So we're filled with that and surrounded by it, right? But it's a matter of, is your focus in that or is your focus on something else, right? And
Yeah.
so focus is like super, 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 super important, because where you focus is where you're going to end up.
Yeah, that's where your
And
energy goes.
where your habitual focus goes, that's going to determine the quality of your life. So put your focus where is the best possible quality, and that's got to be inside of life and inside of peace, because they're there and they're waiting for you.
I love
Right?
that. I
Yeah.
love it. Thank you so much. I mean, we could
Yeah.
literally chat for another probably 2 hours.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We'd be no problem.
So I mean, thank you so much for this wisdom and this knowledge. And I really just this conversation was so enlightening to myself, and I know that the listeners will appreciate this as well.
That's always the
Um,
hope. Yep.
yeah. And as we wrap up, where can people find you?
Okay. I always like to joke. That's the wrong question, because what you really need to do is find yourself.
I love that. That
Right?
is the truth.
But I'm not hard to find. I have a book called Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill, that you can get that on Google. I work with oils, Udo's oil, that you can find that on Google. I'm on LinkedIn, Uso Erasmus, and I have a Facebook, not Facebook. I'm on Facebook, and I have a YouTube channel, and I'm Instagram. I have a website called Udo's Choice. That's where the products are. There's a website, usoerasmus.com, that's under construction. I'm not hard to find.
Yeah, I'm going to put all of
but
that in the show notes as well.
But really important, really, 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 really important. It's really important that you came to me to find out where to find me. And I'm telling you, you need to find yourself.
Yeah.
Because you are so magnificent. Even if you have a wart on your nose and there's hair growing out of the wart, you are, as a human being, and what this is absolutely astoundingly beautiful and magnificent. And what a shame to miss it. If you miss it, like, nobody else can enjoy your life for you.
Right.
So if you don't enjoy your life, then it's a wasted gift. And if somebody tells you it's selfish to spend time with yourself, because that's what people do when they want you to serve their agenda,
truth,
and not find your happiness, then you want to make it clear to them that you have to, because the universe gave you this, and you don't have it for long, 100 years if you're lucky, right? And before that and after that, forever, nothing, right? So you have this, universe gave you this gift. If you're not fully present in that, you are spitting in God's face.
Yeah, you're missing out.
You're gonna miss the gift.
Yeah,
and nobody else can enjoy it for you. So to call it selfish to do that, it's selfish not to do that.
I agree with you. And self is in the word selfish. So
and in that sense, we need to be more selfish, not less selfish.
Yeah.
Because when I feel filled, because I'm present, all of a sudden I'm not going to, what can I do that'll get me taken care of? Because that's how I used to be, right? And I wouldn't do things that needed to be done because I couldn't see how they would take care of me. But now it's like, okay, I'm good. I'm taken care of. Okay. If I don't feel taken care of, I know where to go, because the care is there. It's always there. It's always there. It's always there. So now what is left to do? Only to help. It's all that's left to do. Only to help. What needs to be done? How can I help? What needs to be done? How can I make the biggest splash for good in the time I have? That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah. And it's very evident that you are accomplishing that.
Yeah, and you know why I do it? because
Why?
it's completely selfish and it feels so good. Because when you help people, when you help people, built into us, it feels good in your heart.
It
And
does.
when you hurt people, it feels bad in the heart. And when you hurt somebody and you didn't mean to, it feels really bad, right?
Yep.
But when you help
Yep.
people, little things, not big things, not every day, big fanfare. No, somebody's standing on the road and they're turning the map upside down. You know they need some help. Say,
Yeah.
where are you trying to go? And you
Yeah.
help them, and it feels good.
Yeah.
And it's not complicated.
It's not. It's not complicated. People, we as human beings, we just like make it complicated.
Yep. And when I'm present here, life is simple.
Yeah. Ain't that the truth? Thank you so much.
All right.
Beautiful to end on.
All
Guys,
right.
if you like this episode, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.
All
Bye.
right. Thanks, Gena.
You're welcome.